1984 Topps Baseball Cards, 25 Most Valuable, plus bonus listings. If you were a collector just before the hobby boom in the 1980s, the mere sight of 1984 Topps baseball cards probably makes your tummy flip and your ticker twitch. Back then, our foreheads were just damp with the first bit of moisture that would develop into rookie card fever, and we had also yet to see a Fleer or Donruss set that really could compare to any top issue. All of that would change in a flash thanks to Dell Strawberry and Don Mattingly rookie cards and all three 1984 sets, and especially thanks to the scarcity and beauty of the 1984 Donruss. But whenever the crush of our frenzied hobby got too much, we could always retreat to the comfort of Topps. To help us bring back just a touch of those hallowed days, here's a quick rundown of the 25 most valuable cards from the 1984 Topps baseball set, by measure of recent sales and PSA 9 condition. Number 25. 1984 Topps Andy Van Slyke Rookie Card, number 206. Van Slyke doesn't get much play these days when talking about top names of the 1980s and 90s, but he was a Gold Glove center fielder, the glue that held together the vaunted Pittsburgh Pirates outfield of the early 1990s. And when he wasn't teaming with Barry Bonds and Bobby Bonilla to help the Bucks win a division title with his glove, he more than held his own at the plate. Slick will almost certainly never make the Hall of Fame, but his play and his rookie card are vital to understanding baseball and baseball cards as we inch even closer to the new millennium. Value $15 to $25. Number 24. 1984 Topps Cal Ripken Jr., number 490. In 1982, Cal Ripken Jr. won the American League Rookie of the Year award. In 1983, he won the American League MVP award and helped the Baltimore Orioles to the World Series victory over the Phillies. So yeah, Cal was a hot commodity when this card came out. Another MVP award, 3,000 plus hits, 400 plus home runs, and the streak did nothing to cool him down. This third-year Cal card features a classic shot of the young shortstop, still at the beginning stages of his legendary journey through Major League Baseball. Value $20 to $25. Number 23. 1984 Topps Mike Schmidt, number 700. Mike Schmidt is simply the greatest third baseman of all time, and one of a couple of handful who are in the discussion for the top 10 or 12, or whatever the number overall. In 1984, Schmidt was 3 years removed from what most expected would be his last National League MVP season, but the old man had plenty of gas left in the tank. When all was said and done, Schmidt had added the 1986 National League MVP to his trophy case and retired in 1989 with 548 dingers. Schmidt's cards remain solid across the board, and his 1984 Topps is no exception. Value $20 to $25. Number 22. 1984 Topps Andre Dawson, number 200. By 1984, Andre Dawson was well established as a five-tool player and regularly in the discussion for unofficial title of best player in the game. Pulling a hot card from wax packs back in the day was magical, and his 1984 Topps issue, replete with the long-lost Expos uniform, still feels special today. Value $20 to $25. Number 21. 1984 Topps Eddie Murray, number 240. Murray was well into a steady Eddie routine by 1984, having reeled off 30-plus home runs and 100-plus RBI in 3 of the preceding 4 seasons. And in the 4th? He led the American League in both categories during the strike-ripped 1981 season. Like the man himself, Murray's 1984 Topps issue may not have been the flashiest card in the pack, but it was, and remains, one of the very best. Value $20 to $25. Number 20. 1984 Topps Dale Murphy, number 150. Undoubtedly, the 1984 Topps Dale Murphy card was one of the most popular hunks of new cardboard to hit store shelves and collectors' hands during that Olympic year. And why not? After all, the man was coming off 2 consecutive National League MVP awards and was generally acknowledged as one of the greatest players in the game. Home run titles in 84 and 85 did little to change that perception, as Murphy further solidified himself as a fan and collector favorite. It's hard to believe all these years later, then, that the man still stands outside of Hall of Fame, but late career slides like his can be brutal. Still, Murphy's hobby star has never really faded, and he still has a great chance to get into Cooperstown thanks to the modern baseball incarnation of the Veterans Committee. Value $20 to $25. Number 19. 1984 Topps Lou Whitaker, number 695. Lou Whitaker was one of the top second basemen in baseball for the better part of 2 decades, and he retired as one of the top 10 Keystone men by most statistical measures. Along the way, he also helped the Tigers win a championship and helped form their fabled core of young talent that kept them competitive for a decade or more. Someday, Sweet Lou will take his rightful place alongside teammates Alan Trammell and Jack Morris and manager Sparky Anderson in Cooperstown. And when he does, classic cards like this one from their amazing summer of 1984 will garner even stronger collector support than they already do. Value $20 to $25. Number 18. 1984 Topps Dave Winfield, number 460. Winfield emerged as a surprise batting title combatant during the summer of 1984, embarking on a summer-long chase of 350 plus with upstart teammate Don Mattingly. And while Big Dave lost out to Donnie Baseball right at the end of the season, their breathtaking battle elevated both men in the hobby. And there's still something very special about Winfield's Topps card from that summer for those of us who followed the blow-by-blow. Value $20 to $25. Number 17. 1984 Topps 1983 Highlight. Bench, Barry, Yastrzemski retire. Number 6. It's not every year that three living legends retire at the same time, but that was the case in 1983, the final season for Johnny Bench, Gaylord Perry, and Carl Yastrzemski. And while Topps wouldn't budge from their tacit policy of not creating career capper cards for guys they knew wouldn't be playing in a given year, they did design to give us a nice tribute of the three great gents. Bench was actually only in his mid-30s. These aren't the greatest picks ever, but sure, it was good to get one last look at the future Hall of Famers on soft brown Topps cardboard. Value $20 to $30. Number 16. 1984 Topps Cal Ripken Jr. All-Star, number 400. Even though he played a full season in 1982 and won the American League Rookie of the Year award, it took a few months for the baseball cognoscenti to catch on to Cal Ripken Jr. and his greatness. Consequently, he didn't make his first All-Star game cut until 1983, and then that next spring he made his first All-Star card, courtesy of Topps. Yeah, that's this beauty right here, and it's still a collector favorite. Value $20 to $30. Number 15. 1984 Topps George Brett, number 500. Brett found himself in something of a lull in the early to mid-1980s, settling in as a mere 300 hitter with power. No longer was he a 400 threat, even though he thought he was, and no longer was he a perennial MVP candidate, thanks to the couple of second-place finishes for the Royals. But then the infamous Pine Tar game thrust him back into the spotlight in 1983, and his Royals started winning division titles again in 1984. Brett slipped to 284 that summer, but roared back with one of the very best campaigns in 1985 to help Kansas City win their first World Series title. Finishing with more than 3,000 hits and an easy path to the Hall of Fame, Brett never really relinquished his hold on collectors, not even during the relatively lean years represented by this classic action shot. Value $20 to $30. Number 14. 1984 Topps Wade Boggs, number 30. Unless you were a Red Sox diehard or a minor league aficionado, Wade Boggs' emergence in 1983 probably caught you flat-footed. Surely that 361 batting average was a fluke. Well, sort of, but then again, not really. Boggs topped that mark on 3 occasions on his way to 5 batting crowns, 3,000 plus hits, and a Hall of Fame plaque. And naturally, his baseball cards have been hobby burners since that magical summer of 1983 when he served notice that he was the game's next to best hope to see 400 average. Value $20 to $30. Number 13. 1984 Topps Rickey Henderson, number 230. By 1984, Rickey Henderson had begun to shake his status as just a speedster, as we were all beginning to realize just how special and complete he was. That summer would also be his last in Oakland, version 1, and his move to the New York Yankees would help raise Rickey's profile in the game and the hobby. Then he closed in on the all-time stolen base record in 1991. He pulled all his cards up and away. This sneaky Rickey card is a great snapshot of his early career days and maintains plenty of love in the hobby. Value $25 to $30. Number 12. 1984 Topps Stolen Base Leaders, Rickey Henderson and Tim Raines, number 134. Another season, another stolen base title for Rickey Henderson, and for Tim Raines. Yes, for the 3rd and 4th years in a row, the Speedsters led their respective leagues in thefts in 1983. This was the last cardboard rodeo together, though, as Topps skipped the league leader bit for 1984. Value $25 to $30. Number 11. 1984 Topps Reggie Jackson, number 100. After winning his fourth and final home run crown in 1982, Reggie Jackson tailed off to just 14 dingers in 116 games in 1983. He still had some power left in that bat and in that aging body, though, as evidenced by the 52 long balls he'd hit in 1984 and 1985 combined, and as evidenced by that mighty cut on his 1984 Topps baseball card. Value $25 to $30. Number 10. 1984 Topps Rod Carew, number 600. Carew mustered one last big batting average for the Angels in 1983, hitting .339 to finish 22 points behind Wade Boggs for the American League crown. Sort of iconic then that Topps chose to feature the seven-time title holder in the field rather than in the batter box on his 1984 card. Either way, collectors were still happy to get whatever glimpse of the Hall of Famer we could get. Value $25 to $30. Number 9. 1984 Topps Tom Seaver, number 740. Seaver was one of the few great late career pitchers who didn't break Walter Johnson's all-time record for strikeouts in 1983, but he was maybe the best of the best from his era when all was said and done. Besides, Tom Terrific did eventually surpass the big train on the all-time K list anyway. Oh, and this 1984 Topps card is Seaver's first base issue, showing him back with the Mets after a mid-career detour with the Reds. Yeah, it's a classic. Value $25 to $30. Number 8. 1984 Topps Pete Rose, number 300. Just about every list like this of the most valuable baseball cards from the 1960s, 70s, or 80s is going to include a Pete Rose. That's because, no matter what you think of the man, the fact remains that he is baseball's all-time hits leader, and he helped light the hobby on fire as he ran toward and past Ty Cobb. This 1984 Topps card, Pete's last with the Philadelphia Phillies, is an affordable way to grab onto a hunk of hobby and baseball history. Value $25 to $35. Number 7. 1984 Topps Ryne Sandberg, number 596. Sandberg suffered an apparent blow from a baseball standpoint when the winning Phillies traded him to the lowly Cubs before the 1982 season. 2 years later, though, Rhino became a superstar on the north side and helped carry Chicago to their first ever division title. Along the way, he put together a stellar, well-rounded season that snagged him National League MVP honors and made all his cards, including this 1984 Topps Dandy, instant hobby classics. Value $25 to $35. Number 6. 1984 Topps Darryl Strawberry rookie card, number 182. Entering the 1984 season, there was nothing hotter in the hobby than this Topps Darryl Strawberry rookie card. Not everyone could get their hands on the Straw's 1983 Topps traded card, after all. After torching National League pitching during his Rookie of the Year campaign in 1983, Strawberry looked destined for greatness. And he achieved that lofty goal, at least for a while. Things never seemed quite the same for the superstar after he helped the New York Mets win the 1986 World Series, but he still put together a star-level career and remains popular in the hobby, especially with us oldsters. Strawberry's first base Topps card isn't the retirement fund many envisioned, but collectors still love it. Value $25 to $40. Number 5. 1984 Topps Nolan Ryan, number 470. Like Rose, Nolan Ryan usually sits towards the top of just about every set he's in. This particular pasteboard shows the Ryan Express reared back and ready to slam home a pitch for the Houston Astros. Assuming the photo was snapped in 1983, that's the same season that he, Perry, and Steve Carlton passed Walter Johnson's all-time strikeout record. At the time, it was iffy if and who would land on top for good, and many thought the K title would ultimately reside with Carlton. No. This card, which turned out to be more mid-career than Twilight for Ryan, rose to the ranks with the rest of the Flamethrowers pasteboards during the early 1990s and remains there today. Value $30 to $35. Number 4. 1984 Topps 1983 Highlight Ryan Carlton Perry strikeout record. Number 4. In late April of 1983, Nolan Ryan passed Walter Johnson for the all-time lead in strikeouts, mowing down the 3,509th batter of his career. Less than a month later, Steve Carlton also took down the big train. And then in August, with less than 2 months left in his big league career, Gaylord Perry topped the old mark too. The next spring, Topps catcher the trio, who made life tough for Johnson on a single card, and still resonates with collectors today. Value $30 to $35. Number 3. 1984 Topps Tony Gwynn, number 251. Gwynn didn't cause too much of a ruckus during his first 2 seasons in the San Diego Padres, though he did show the ability to hit for highish average. By mid-season of 1984, though, the sweet-swinging lefty had the baseball world talking, streaking towards his first batting crown and leading the Friars to first place in the old National League West. Mr. Padre also sent collectors scrambling to find his 1983 rookie cards among our common bins, and completely changed the complexion of our 1984 wax packs, where this card was still available live and in person. 8 batting titles, 3,000 plus hits, and a Hall of Fame plaque later, and our love affair with Gwynn has never subsided. Value $30 to $35. Number 2. 1984 Topps Alan Trammell, number 510. Trammell hit double-digit home runs, 14, for the first time in 1983, while winning his third Gold Glove. He was a star-level player, though relatively unappreciated outside of Detroit. The Tigers shortstop would offer up a nearly identical showing in 1984, but by the end of October, every baseball fan had his name on their lips. The difference? Yeah, it was the dominant season the Tigers reared off en route to the championship, with Trammell copying World Series MVP honors. Suddenly, he was the name, not just in the game, but in the hobby too. And from there, Trammell leaned into his peak years and headed towards Cooperstown. His cards, especially ones that special summer, maintain a special hobby glow today. Value $30 to $40. Number 1. 1984 Topps Don Mattingly Rookie Card, number 8. I've talked about Don Mattingly a fair piece, but it's only because he's maybe the single most important player with the single most important rookie card in terms of shaping the modern hobby to ever grace a slab of cardboard. While this Topps rookie card never quite lived up to the Mattingly's monstrous 1984 Donruss rookie, it was and is a hobby favorite. These days, the 1984 Topps Mattingly can be yours for less than other hobby icons, but it remains iconic. Value $85 to $90. Honorable mention. That's a big swath of cherry cards right there, with some specials thrown into the mix on their own merit. But the 1984 Topps set is so jammed with multiplayer standouts that we just can't help ourselves. Here, then, are 5 more awesome cards from this set. These don't quite rise to the level of the others, value-wise, but they're not all that far off. And you'd be hard-pressed to find more talent, history, and nostalgia crammed into 2.5-inch by 3.5-inch rectangle. Number 5. 1984 Topps number 132. Mike Schmidt and Jim Rice staged a tandem resurgence of sorts in 1983. After all, hardly anyone expected the 30-year-old Rice to win an American League home run crown, not after a handful of seasons with declining power. And after copying 2 MVP awards in 1980 and 1981, Schmidt lost his home run crown to Dave Kingman in 1982 and also finished behind Dale Murphy. At 33, did Schmidt have anything left in the tank? All you have to do to see how these sluggers answered their doubters is to look at this card. 39 dingers for Jim Ed in 1983, 40 for Michael Jack to lead their leagues in 1983. Value $8 to $12. Number 4. 1984 Topps number 426. Value $10 to $15. Number 3. 1984 Topps National League Active Career Hits Leader, number 702. Even though we were right on the brink of rookie card fever in 1984, the game was stuffed to the gills with all-time greats climbing their way toward historic achievements. To capitalize on this trend, Topps cranked out a subset of career leaders that featured the top 3 guys in various batting and pitching categories in each league. These were awesome cards, even if they weren't all that popular at the time. As the years have passed, though, we have seemed to have grown an appreciation for any vintage cards of our childhood heroes, and these cardboard rectangles have gained some steam. I could have picked just about any of the subsets for inclusion here, but the National League Active Career Hits Leaders features Pete Rose in the middle, flanked by Rusty Staub and Tony Pettis. Lots of fodder for a Cincinnati Reds homer like me, and who doesn't love Le Grand Orange? This underrated classic sells at relatively cheap prices most of the time. Value $10 to $15. Number 2. 1984 Topps number 707. After both men broke Walter Johnson's all-time strikeout record in the spring, Steve Carlton chased down Nolan Ryan during the summer of 1983 to enter 1984 as the title holder. We all know that the Express didn't take that slight lying down. And sort of forgotten in all that hullabaloo that came with those two gents and Gaylord Perry topping the big train was maybe the greatest pitcher of his generation sitting there in third place on the National League strikeout chart for the then active hurlers. Topps didn't forget though and graced us with this classic Ryan Carlton Seaver number in their 1984 set. Value $10 to $15. Number 1. 1984 Topps Astro leaders Nolan Ryan and Jose Cruz, number 66. Back in the 1980s, Topps team leader cards were always disappointing pulls. You wanted solo cards of your favorite players, not duos featuring Anthony Hammaker and Jeff Leonard. But every once in a while, you'd pull a league leader card like this one showing Nolan Ryan and Jose Cruz and wondered, should I add this to my Nolan Ryan collection? Pete Rose for me, but then this Ryan wouldn't fit in with my Charlie Hustle stash, would it? All these years later, when Ryan rules many of the sets in which he appears, most collectors seem to have answered that question with a big old yes. Anyway, this colorful combo stays in the hobby limelight thanks to Mr. Express himself. Value $15 to $20. 1984 Topps traded. For the fourth year in a row, Topps graced collectors with an end-of-the-year traded set late in 1984. And with the all-time rookie phenom and a man on the verge of history among their ranks, there hasn't been a day in the last 4 decades or so that these cards were not hobby royalty. Number 5. 1984 Topps traded Brett Saberhagen, rookie card, number 104T. Saberhagen was an unknown to just about everyone outside of Kansas City when the 1984 Topps traded set hit the hobby for the fall. Fast forward a year, though, and Sabes was an American League Cy Young winner and darling of the newly crowned champion Royals. And suddenly Gooden had a running mate in sending this set to the top of the hobby hot list. Value $15 to $20. Number 4. 1984 Topps traded Dave Parker, number 90T. Parker may have fallen on hard times and even out of favor with the Pirates in the early 1980s. But his reemergence in his hometown in Cincinnati in 1984 reestablished him as a star and bred a whole new generation of fans to add to his legion, me included. For Reds faithful, hungry to see power and winning return to the riverfront, this was one of the most anticipated baseball cards of all time. Value $20 to $25. Number 3. 1984 Topps traded Tom Seaver, number 108T. Mets fans were pretty ticked when Seaver came back to Flushing for the 1983 season. Less so when GM Frank Cashen left him exposed next winter, when the White Sox selected him as a free agent compensation pick. This completed the sad tableau after a summer spent ogling one or more round of cardboard showing Seaver with the Mets, even though he didn't toss one pitch for them in 1984. Value $25 to $30. Number 2. 1984 Topps traded Pete Rose, number 103T. Pete Rose with the Montreal Expos? That was one of the most unimaginable fates that awaited fans and collectors as the 1984 season dawned, thanks to the paucity of teams in the market for a mid-1940s hitter, even one taking aim at one of baseball's hallowed records. Of course, sometime after hit number 4,000, but before Rose turned the corner and lowered his shoulder into Ty Cobb's chin and hits record, the Spos traded Charlie Hustle back to the Cincinnati Reds. And so, the various cards showing Rose with Montreal, including this 1984 Topps traded version, were outdated by the time they saw the light of day. Still, this red, white, and blue oddball, for Phils and Reds fans at least, is a popular reminder of bygone era in baseball history. Value $30 to $35. Number 1. 1984 Topps traded Dwight Gooden, rookie card, number 42T. Has there ever been a more mythical rookie performance than Dwight Gooden's in the summer of 1984? After all, in an era before the internet, before the ubiquitous availability of cable TV, before new baseball cards were released every week or so, pretty much all we knew about the Mets phenom was that he was tearing up the National League batters every time he took the mound, as a teenager, and lifting the woeful Mets into contention along the way. And yet many fans couldn't even get a glimpse of the amazing young man. It was a magical mix that had collectors frothing at the mouth to get the first look at Good in cardboard, and made his 1984 Topps Traded issue maybe the most anticipated new card of all time up to that point. And even with the troubles that befell young Dwight on his way to immortality, this card still makes collectors' hearts go pitter patter all these years later. Value $50 to $75.